Ja, Alice i Underlandet, Charlies änglar, Wild at Heart, Gilbert Grape. Ja, i alla de filmerna har han varit med. Men den som kanske de flesta förknippar honom med, det är Tillbaka till framtiden. Och det är länge sedan, det är 1985.
All right, there she is, George. Then just go in there and invite her. Okay, but I don't know what to say. Well, just say anything, George. Say, well, whatever's natural. Well, the first thing that comes into your mind.
Nothing's coming to my mind.
Jesus, George, it was a wonder I was even born.
What? What?
Nothing. Look, tell her destiny brought you together. Tell her that she is the most beautiful girl you've ever seen in the world. Girls like that stuff. What are you doing, George?
I'm writing this down. This is good stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
let's go.
Oh,
You take care of that.
right. Lou, give me a milk. Chocolate.
Welcome, Crispin Glover.
Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you here.
Glad to be here.
20 years old.
Yeah, I was 20.
1985.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, when I showed this to the staff that are working with this program, said, I have to see that again.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's it was a long time ago. We shot it actually in 1984, a little bit of 1985, and I was 20. I was pretty young.
What did this movie do to you and your career?
Well, it was a very popular film, and I started working at age 13. So I'd been working for about 7 years, although I didn't start really working a lot in feature films or until I turned 18 because of the child labor laws. I'd started kind of late as a young actor, but it was a child actor. But it was a good age to have started for a young adult actor. Mm-hmm. And then the child labor laws started working in my favor when I turned 18, and that's when I started working in films.
This is a really popular film, but there was another film, Alice in Wonderland, that was even financially more.
That's the film that made the most money that I've ever been in, was Alice in Wonderland, and Back to the Future, of course, has been around a lot longer, and particularly in the United States, it has. Well, I guess other places as well. It has a large viewership.
Hollywood and the movie business have changed a lot because now we have TV series and drama series, which is really the new thing in making movies. And you're now in a TV series, a drama series with Peter Stormare.
Yes, that's right.
What is that?
Neil Gaiman's American Gods. It's really a serialization of the entire novel that'll take place over 3 years. Neil Gaiman's executive producing it, and it really is extremely well written. Mm-hmm. Has beautiful metaphor.
What is the metaphor?
Something that is a fantasy which relates to a reality, and it can teach lessons about the reality by going into kind of a fantastical arena, and he does that extremely well.
It's going to be released next month.
Yes.
Amazon, I think.
Yeah, I don't know all the exact details of it, but I had some of the dialogue that I had is some of the best dialogue I've had in my career. It's extremely well written.
You are here, you have your Hollywood life.
Yes.
And then you have a totally different life.
Yes.
And you're here in that business in Sweden right now.
Right. I'm here. I'm going to be showing 2 feature films that I've directed and performing 2 different live shows that I perform of 8 different books. These are some of the published books, and I have an hour-long show, different show each night, that has the illustrations or the pages of the books projected behind me, as I dramatically narrate each of the books. Each show is an hour long. Then after the show, I present the feature film.
I think we have a clip from one of them here.
Okay.
Let's have a look.
Okay, sure.
And you can explain what it is.
All right.
So what do we see now?
That's Stephen C. Stewart, and he's the main actor and the writer of the screenplay. Steve had been born with a severe case of cerebral palsy, and when he was in his early 20s, his mother died, and he was placed into a nursing home where he really didn't want to be. And the people that were taking care of him there would derisively call him an MR, a mental retard, which is not a nice thing to say to anybody. But Steve was of normal intelligence, and the emotional turmoil that he must have gone through for the decade he was in that nursing home, I can't even begin to imagine. But he was watching these TV murder mystery movie series on television while he was there, and he started coming up with this idea. When he got out, he wrote this screenplay in the style of these US TV murder mystery movies of the week, wherein he's the bad guy. And by the fact that he wrote it in this genre style as opposed to a standard autobiography, there are certain truths that come out in his lives that are really beautifully psychological.
You and I were talking before we were in the studio. We came to the studio about being the right of being an individual in a society that sort of forced people to be more and more in mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah, the first film, I show them backwards. It's funny, but the first film in the show, I don't know if we have a clip from that to show, but that film is called What Is It? And most of the actors in the film have Down syndrome, but it's not about Down syndrome at all. What it really is my psychological reaction to the corporate constraints in the last 30 or more years of filmmaking, where anything that can possibly make an audience member uncomfortable is necessarily excised, or that film will not be corporately funded or distributed. This is a very damaging thing because it's that moment when an audience member looks up at the screen and thinks to themselves, is this right what I'm watching? Is this wrong what I'm watching? Should I be here? Should the filmmaker have done this? What is it? And that's the title of the film. What is it that's taboo in the culture? What does it mean when the taboo is ubiquitously excised? Again, I think it's extremely damaging because when people are asking genuine questions, the etymological meaning of the word education means to learn from within. And when people are asking questions, they're learning from within. And to have that possibility ubiquitously excised, it ends up becoming a de-education or a counter-education or propaganda. And that is what's happening in our corporately funded and distributed film arena.
What is happening today post-Trump?
Well, I was very pleased, not about Trump, but I was very pleased during the campaign when Bernie Sanders was running, because I started shooting What Is It in 1996. I've been extremely aware of corporate control having influence on the content of entertainment media. That's what my first film is a reaction to. I was very pleased that Bernie Sanders made it very clear in a well-educated and well-thought-out manner that corporate control is having in the United States extreme adverse control of public policy, which of course is also very important, but it's absolutely related to what I've been talking about for decades. And so I thought that was extremely important, you know, that came out. And then, you know, there's been questions about the suppression of his possibility of being the candidate, and it was complicated. I think there are a lot of people that are very concerned about the Trump presidency, but possibly there's also a reaction where people are realizing what we were talking about the importance of individuality, which is very much a theme that's going through my own films. So I believe
don't
in
take
that.
probably democracy for granted. You have to fight for certain things that you took for granted
particularly
before.
in the United States, it feels like it's not a functioning democracy, and that's something that needs to be fought for to make happen in the United States, because it really isn't happening properly.
So what you are describing is questions, education, and
Yes.
more complicated nuances.
Yes.
But in a society where social media is the thing, where Twitter,
Yeah.
140 letters, is something that even the president of the U.S. is using.
Yeah.
What do you think about this development?
I think there's positive aspects to it. Like I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter, Crispin Glover on Twitter. Although I tend toward using Instagram and Facebook more, but I use them to promote the shows. And it's been effective, and it's part of. I've been touring now for since 2005 was when I premiered What Is It in Sundance. In 2007, Everything Is Fine. So wait, how many years is that? 12 years. So, and I was making the films from a lot longer before that. But the social media, I entered into it specifically to promote the films, and it's extremely valuable. So, you know, there's a lot of. I think communication is positive. It's just that how the communication ends up being controlled by corporate interests is something that could be very concerning.
You need to have a critical way of thinking.
Yes.
Even as a child, you need to
yes.
be able to understand what is fake news and what is not, what is true and what is not.
Yeah, propaganda is a very. I'm also writing a book about this very subject. I'm on page 420. I've been writing it for a long time. Persuasion, the art of persuasion, is extremely important, and people need to be aware of it. I know in the United States, it's starting to. People are starting to come through realizing that there's a very controlled element going on in that country, and when I first started touring with What Is It, even just 12 years ago, I could feel, if I went over the border into Canada or anywhere else, and I was talking about the word propaganda, people were, in the U.S., people were like, yeah, they kind of understood that there's propaganda in the U.S. If I said it in the United States, people were like, what's wrong with you? They really didn't understand that was even a possibility.
Maybe
there.
because it was part of the common life.
It's because it functions.
It functions.
It's extremely well-functioning propaganda in the United States. But there is. I also think that the internet has had a positive influence on that, as people are starting to be able to see outside of the boundaries of the corporately controlled media. Now the question is will the internet be able to stay in that element, in that way of non-control by corporate interests? There's, I'm forgetting what the word is. They are trying to control it right now, so that the bandwidth will be much smaller for people that don't have as much money, or corporations. So that's of great concern.
There is a place where you sit and write and have all these thoughts, and that's quite close to Sweden.
Yeah.
You came from there.
Flew from there yesterday. Fly back tonight. It's in the Czech Republic.
And you live in a castle?
Yes. There's a photo of it. That was when it was owned by Count Jan Harak in the 1860s. Harak was a great patron to the arts, and around the time that's a contemporary photo of the front of it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great place. I bought it specifically to shoot my films. I had a very good year in 2003. I worked in 3 studio films in a row, and I put all of that money into buying that property, and the former horse stables have been made into 18,000 square feet of shooting stages. I'm editing a film right now. It's the first film I shot there. Which is not part of the trilogy of films. It's something, my father's an actor, and he and I had never acted together before, so it's something that I developed with him for many years.
Maybe we should go inside, because it's nice inside too. We have pictures from there.
Yeah, but when Harak owned it, he was a patron of the arts, and he put up money for a contest for the first Czech language opera, which was very important in the mid-1800s. And Bedřich Smetana won the opera, the contest, and he wrote. I don't know if there's a picture in here, but he wrote a picture. He wrote the first Czech language national opera in that chateau. And I've had the room refurbished to the original paintings. No, I can't think of the word of it, but the
frescoes. Or?
Frescoes, yeah, the frescoes that were there during the time that Smetana actually wrote the opera. It just was a coincidence. We were scraping it just to paint it, and then it became apparent there were these.
What an inspiration to sit there and write.
It's interesting. There is something to that kind of energy. That's fantastic. I feel lucky that I'm able to be there.
For those people who wants to listen to your you lecturing, it's in Uppsala.
Yes.
And it's the 28th.
Yes, at the. I wrote it down. Maybe you know it. The Biografen.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember where I put the paper.
The 28th and 29th, the Slottsbiografen.
That's it.
Okay.
Slottsbiografen. Yes.
So if anybody wants to listen to this and talk to you, because it's going to be a discussion as well.
Yes, it goes an hour and a half. The films are each about 72 and 74 minutes, so the discussion generally is longer than the films themselves.
Interesting. I'm so glad.
And
that
then they
you
have book
here.
signings.
And you have your book signing.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
very
so much.
much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.